Hello, everyone. Excited to have Amy on with me today, who owns Reset It. So she'll tell us a bit more about Reset It, but as a basic intro, she helps people shift things that are stuck inside of you for good, forever. And I'm going to be doing some sessions with her, excited to learn more. But we're going to go a bit about her business and this really fun way of personal development and shifting your stories. And then a bit about how she got there, how she discovered this really fun technique and got into it and made it into a business that she now does. And then a bit about her growth and goals that she has going from here. Any advice for people looking to get into this industry? And last but not least, as always, fun question for her to ask me at the end. So, Amy, take it away. Tell us a bit about your business.
Well, thank you. First of all, I'll say thank you so much for having me here. I'm excited to chat with you and to share a little bit more about what I do and, more importantly, what the Reset is all about. So my background, I've been a long-time fitness trainer. So, I'm in fitness. That's what I started off doing. And, when you're a fitness coach, you're basically a health and fitness coach. So I specialized in weight loss without dieting and loving your body forever for women over 40 specifically, because I'm a woman over 40 and I had to navigate through, those changes all on my own because apparently we don't talk about this.
Not.
It's not until you start like asking questions like, well, wait a second here. What's going on with my body? So when these things happen, these changes happen in our bodies, women are just like beside themselves. A lot of them are just like, what is going on? Weight gain, not feeling good, fatigue, foggy brain, all the aches and pains, this sort of stuff. So that's why I specialized specifically around women over 40.
And through that, through the health aspect and kind of focusing on this industry, where did that get you? What did you discover?
Yeah, so I always had my own stuff to contend with, because I'm a visible minority growing up in a small town, Canada here. And when I grew up, I was made fun of, right? Because I looked different than everybody else and I was excluded and felt like I was ostracized and excluded by my peer group. And, I really felt that and it showed up in all the areas of my life. And I probably knew it at the time, but maybe not so consciously. I just knew how people were reacting to me and things just weren't going my way. So that was my own kind of stuff that I was always trying to work on. And then as well, helping women, navigate change easier. Because as you know, changing habits isn't easy, right? So many people know what to do. They're just not doing it. So it's not a matter of knowledge because the internet's almost free, not quite, but all the information is out there. And so we all know what to do. The question is, why aren't we doing it? So as it turns out, it's because of the programs and conditions that we pick up along the way through life. So these are the things that we pick up from our mom and dad, for our friends, teachers, that sort of thing through our community, right, wrong, good or bad, like it or not, we pick these things up. And, so that's where our thoughts, feelings, and actions come from, is through our programs and conditions. So if you want to change how you think, feel, or behave, or how you react to things, it's really about resetting those programs and conditions. And then back to my story is all that stuff that I was carrying around for decades, because now I'm 55. I had an energy healer for like the last 20 years. And my energy healer basically is like Reiki sort of, it's Reiki kind of energy. He does some somatic stuff as well. Anyways, over the course of 20 years that I've known him, he did a lot of energy work on me to kind of get rid of that stuff. And although it did help a lot, I've always felt like towards the end, the last 4 or 5 years, I've been like, it's just not as effective. And I just couldn't figure out why. So I was always looking for ways to help people change their habits as well as for myself. And so I too am a Reiki certified, level 2 certification. And I've done all kinds of other things as well to kind of get that monkey off my back. And I stumbled across this Reset It. And the gentleman is out of Quebec here in Montreal or in Canada.
Okay.
And he did a nosedive into quantum physics and neuroscience, and he figured out a way to reset these programs and conditions that no longer serve us. So this is why it's so hard to change, right? So when I did the sessions, I realized like, wow, this is like in 90 minutes, it was gone. Right? Like it was really, really fast. And then, as a health and fitness coach, the way I was helping women was they would sign up for 6-month, year-long programs with me to kind of do the same thing, trying to reprogram, reset these things that are dictating our lives that are hard to change. And I no longer do any coaching because of this resetter program, because I can literally do what I was doing in 6 months to a year in a fraction of the time.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So that's how I ended up. So then I just was like, I just dropped everything. I was like, okay, that business model gone.
Yep.
And then I just jumped in with both feet with the reset it. And I still am a fitness trainer in my neighborhood here in Toronto. So I still do training for my clients that I've had for a very long time. And then I spend most of my time with this reset it. And it's been fantastic because the results that I've gotten, I now see that in the clients that I help with resetting for them. And it's a game changer for sure.
And who are the sorts of clients you work with? Who would you love to work with?
Anybody that's kind of like tired of like carrying the stuff around, right? Because a lot of times we know what's stopping us, or we know the results that we're getting that we don't want. And we keep kind of trying to do the same thing or try to change it. It's really hard. And whether you work for yourself or you're a mom or whoever it might be, change is not that easy. It's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, or they do these 30-day, 60-day, 90-day, 120-day sprints where you're trying to do the same new thing over and over again in hopes that it's going to stick. Can it work? For sure it can. But that's kind of like the long and hard way of doing things, right? Because that's what I used to teach as a health and fitness coach. And now you don't have to do those things anymore. It's just literally about resetting these programs. So kind of getting it at the root of why you think, feel, and act the way you do or react the way you do. So this is definitely the fastest, most effective way that I've come across in the 20 years that I've been looking for ways to, feel better.
And what's the difference between like the 30 longer day type session and what you do, which is very fast in 1 or maybe 2 sessions? You can have drastic, life changing impacts that people have maybe been trying to get over these longer term programs, but you can get it in a very short period of time.
Right. That's a really good question. So the thing with our thoughts, feelings, and actions is like we don't even realize it as being dictated by these programs that we've picked up along the way through life. We just know that this is how we do it, and we know that we do it all the time, and we know that it's really hard to change, right? So the long and hard way is really about doing the new thing over and over and over and over again in hopes that it changes eventually. But that requires a lot of concentrating, a lot of mindfulness, and a lot of all this extra work that you got to put in to make that change happen. And with the reset, it's literally, like trimming it at the root, like getting to the programs and conditions state, right? Because we have our programs and condition state, which is kind of how you and I are communicating right now. You hear me through your mind, through your senses, and you're analyzing it through your head. That's kind of our analytical state. And that's what we call your programs and condition state. Then we have our present state, where the present state is a state where there is no programs and conditions. It's in the absence of programs and conditions. So it's much like, when babies are born, they're like, you can tell like their bodies are perfect. They're born happy and joyful. Even as they're a toddler, they're like sponges and they absorb everything and they see everything. They're in the state of presence all day long. You notice that, right? Whether you've had kids or not, you can see that. And dogs are another one. Our favorite pets, they're in the state of presence all day long. They're not living in the past. Like, the fact that I got, I don't know, maybe barked at by a bigger dog or nipped at by a smaller dog or whatever it might be, right? They're always in the state of presence. And when you're in the state of presence, then you have more emotional freedom and more clarity in around the things that you need to do in the moment that you need to do it in, right? So we're not looking through these programs and conditions. So oftentimes when we're trying to make a decision, it's either A or B. If I do A, this is what goes on in our mind. If I do A, then I feel guilty about not doing B. If I do B, then I can't, I can't. There's something about there's always this tug of war going on in and that's because we are trying to make decisions through our programs and conditioned state.
Right.
And so the moment they're not there, all of a sudden you have clarity You know exactly what it is that you need to do in the moment that you need to do it in. And there's freedom in that, because then you're not thinking, what about this? What about this? This and that. Or if I feel guilty for this if I don't do that. But if I do this, it's like that no-win situation. Much like the term guilty pleasure. You know, we've heard that. What's your guilty pleasure? Well, when you think about the term guilty pleasure, there's no winning in there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right, Megan? There is no winning. You can't win. You're gonna feel good. You're gonna feel good and bad all at the same time. It's terrible. It's terrible. We don't want guilty pleasures. Either you eat it and enjoy it, or you don't eat it and you're good with it. Either or. But there's not this tug of war going on within ourselves all the time, which is typically what happens with most people, right? Especially women in particular. I'm not. If this is a female audience, women carry a lot of guilt. I'm not doing enough. I got to be everything. I got to do everything. And if I don't do everything and give everything, then there's something wrong with me, because that's what everybody else is doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's getting away from that. And when you're in that state of presence, you're able to make the right decision for you, no matter what. And the moment you do that, I've been on calls with people where the moment we do that reset on that thing that's bugging them, all of a sudden they're like, oh my goodness, I know exactly what to do, because it's that tug of war. I was working with someone who had a franchise. He had a franchise business. He had franchisees, and franchisees were like, certain franchisees wanted more attention. Other franchisees wanted him to do this. Like he was just like, okay, what do I do? If I do this, I'm not gonna please these people. If I do this, I can't be everything to everybody. He has to make the right decision for the business and for the franchisees as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
So he was feeling guilt all day long when it came to trying to make a decision. So the moment we did the reset, in like literally 3 minutes, he stopped me and goes, okay, I know exactly what I need to do. And there was no guilt or shame. He goes, this is the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do for my business. It's the right thing to do for all my franchisees. And I was like, great.
Wait.
And he wasn't even relieved. He just was like assured of himself. He was just sure of himself that this is the right decision that he needs to make. And that's the power of resetting these programs and conditions. Because guilt and shame is a program and condition that don't serve us and don't belong to us. These things that we picked up along the way, because maybe somebody in our life when we were a kid felt shame for something that happened, and we saw that reaction and we picked up that behavior, and then now that's dictating our life and how we react through life, right?
So essentially, it sounds like in many ways you go back to the state of presence, the state of infinite possibility and knowing. And it's from that state
That's right.
that you're able to get clarity and make decisions, because it doesn't have the chaos, the noise that the past conditions have put on top of us.
Exactly. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Okay. And
yeah.
how did you get into this? Like, we've heard a little bit. We've heard some slices of you were focusing on fees and the health coaching and all of that, and then you found this. But in some ways, even before that, what brought you into this world of really wanting to know how people tick and making changes and that world of kind of development?
Right. Yeah. I was carrying a lot of stuff on my shoulders. And then one day, my girlfriend, this was 20 years ago, says, Amy, you need to meet this person. And I didn't even ask who this person was. I didn't ask what this person did for a living. I just went, okay. If my friend said I need to go to see this person, I just went, okay. I didn't even ask questions. I don't even know why I didn't ask. I just trusted her. And next thing you know, I'm on this table. And he's my Reiki. The next thing you know, he's been my Reiki therapist for 20 years. Well, needless to say, since the reset, I haven't been on his table because I don't need to be on his table anymore. Right. And so it was partly because I wanted to get, I want to drop my baggage off at the door.
Yeah.
And he used to say to me, Amy, you need to learn how to let go. And I'd be like, for 20 years, I asked myself, I'll never forget, for 20 years, be like, how do I let go? What does it even look like? What does it even feel like? Where do I even begin?
Right.
Right? Well, this person, my Reiki, he was blessed with this ability to always live in the state of presence. So he's not like the rest of us. That's right. He would say things and I just didn't quite understand what he meant. And literally what he meant is, I realize now that he lives in a state of presence all day long. So and as a person, he decides how if he, that he's happy. It's not based on money. It's not based on what he has or doesn't have, or this or that, or his weight or his size, or whatever the societal rules are around what you considered considered to be happy or successful, or or wealthy, or whatever it may be. And he made up his own rules. He goes, no, I decide. And that was the difference. That's like, okay, because now I'm kind of making comparisons as to, like, how do you even begin to understand what that state of presence is, right? And most of us, even for me, I was living in a cloud of programs
Yeah.
and you don't even know it.
Yeah.
You don't even know it, because it's just human nature. It's just what happens to us. This is just how we live. Most of us, not every one of us, but most of us. But now I'm able to draw a comparison between, like, my energy healer who lives in the state of presence all day long, because that's just how he was. I don't know. He said, I was just born that way. I've always been like this since I was a kid. Where I've always been like this since I was a kid. So how do I relate to what he's saying? So, partly it was because of that. And then I was always curious about how to feel better, how to do better, like the rest of us, right? Like, we just want to be happier, want to be more joyful, less stress, less worry, less, more, right? So then I came across, so I've done like Dr. Joe Dispenza. I've been on 2 of his retreats. They're all fantastic. However, it never got the monkey off my back. I was never able to drop the luggage off at the door, but they did get lighter.
Got lighter. So you're like, okay, they're shifting. I'm enrolled.
They're shifting.
Yeah.
Like, it's moving. And then I came across this reset, and I was like, and when he said, I teach people how to reset what doesn't belong to them. Right then and there, I knew it. I knew in that instant that I had found something that I've been, and I didn't even know I knew I was looking for something, but I didn't really even know what I was looking for, but I knew I was looking for something. I could meditate for hours. I've tried everything. I've tried a lot of different things. And although they did help for sure, it didn't get rid of it completely until the reset it. So that's when I dove in. And then on top of that, like, I've spent thousands of dollars on, like, coaching, courses, you name it, like, racking up. My husband's he's ready to kill me.
But the benefits are all worth it in the end.
And then I came across a reset it, and that's when I jumped in with both feet. So he was doing this. He's been doing this on his own for about 16 years or 17 years now, as a one-man show, teaching people how to reset the things that don't belong to them. And then when I met him, it was just before he opened up for teacher training. And now there's 12 of us around the world who teach this tool just like him. And we're growing our team because, and the reason I was telling you this is because the money that I spent in the past versus the money that he charges for these sessions, like, literally it dropped me to my knees in tears. Because I realized those other people that charged me thousands of dollars were really just serving themselves and not really truly helping others, right? For the most part, not everybody, but, kind of leaning in that direction. And I was like, wow, this person is actually really there to help people.
And it's the time that it takes in, like, a business standpoint is that you're committing a smaller amount of time and getting the same results. So in some ways, like, you could charge ridiculous amounts of money for that, but the fact that from our conversation, you're not charging large amounts, but you're doing it more. And like, there's a smaller time commitment to people, but, like, it still makes sense for your time and what you're charging, but the results, it's an interesting concept. Because usually it's like you have to commit large amounts of time and it's this large price tag. Whereas you're like, no, you can get massive results in a short period of time with a smaller price tag. And it's a shortcut.
Yeah. And we've been taught, like, if you want to feel better, improve more, whatever it might be, we got to work at it. We got to get over stuff. You got to, like, this working at it, right? And I did. I had a whole, $1,000, like, thousands of dollars in books, reading material, trying to figure out a way to feel better, And in the end, after I did the reset, I chucked all those I was like, gone, gone. And the interesting thing is I just gotta tell you, it's funny. So I took all these self-help books in a box and I put it in my front lawn so people can take it if they want it. They didn't take any of it. They like kind of shuffled through it. And then when I went out there, they were all still there. And then it was going to rain, so I had to bring them all back in the house. And then I just took it over to Salvation Army to donate it there.
That's real funny. I kind of love that. People are like, we don't need them. We should have been in front of all of them. Like, these books are great. And here's my number in this program, which actually is why I'm throwing these out. Contact me if you're actually interested in self-help. I have a certificate. That's fun.
Too
Terrible idea.
funny.
Go right in the front of self-help books. I have a better way. Here's my
Yeah.
number. Get Okay. So where are you interested in going from here? You've built your business to a certain level and you've built your knowledge level to a certain level. What are some of your growth features and goals that you're leading into?
Yeah, I think for me is really just continuing doing this work that I'm doing with the Reset It. And, we're trying to grow our team. We're not trying, we're growing our team. Right now, where there's 12 of us, we're going to grow it to 25, eventually to 50, eventually to 100. And then Mark's going to need some help in, training the new Reset It specialists. So I'm 100% committed in this work that we do, just because I can, I felt the difference myself. And when I do these sessions with people, I can see the difference in them, and it just feels good because I know what it's like to, like to be carrying luggage around.
Yeah.
And after a while, it kind of gets heavy. Like you're like, you know what? I don't want to carry this stuff around anymore. It gets in your way.
Yeah. I love that. And if someone wanted to, if they hear you and they're like, yes, I would love to know more and jump in on this, how would they do that?
Yeah, the best thing to do is have a conversation, and I can tell you a little bit more about the program. And then, if they're interested in doing the sessions, by all means. And then if they really like the results that they have and they want to be a Reset It specialist, absolutely, I can make an introduction to Mark and go from there. So there's lots of different opportunities that way. But yeah, it's all based on, if this resonates with the person, right?
And is there a certain type of, like, I know you have Reiki training, past history, and different stuff like that. Is there any sort of past that they have to have, or just an interest and a aptitude?
Yeah, just an interest. Most of us here, actually, between the 12 of us, we all have different backgrounds. So my background is in health and fitness. There's another person who's also health and fitness. She has a yoga background, and then there's two ladies are from They have a business background. I think one has an MBA, if not both of them do. So they have business and marketing background. And then we also have two trauma therapists where they've been taught in other modalities, but they now just only use the Reset It as a way as their modality of choice for treating their clients. And then there's a few other people I haven't quite met because I think a couple of them are French speaking because we're in Canada. They're in Canada. But so we all have different backgrounds coming together to teach this Reset It tool.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And anyone who's looking to get into this style of work or even entrepreneurship in general, do you have any advice for them?
Yeah, I just say love what you do. That's the key, right? Because we all have to work for a living. So I think loving what you do, it certainly makes work more enjoyable for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's such a fun one because loving what you do, you're like, okay, it has to, especially when you're in entrepreneur world, you pick something that you kind of love. Then you're like, okay, it has to make me money. And then sometimes in that, it loses its fun. Like really, really picking something you're passionate about and
Absolutely.
and knowing your
Absolutely.
why. Why are you doing it in the world?
Exactly. And if you're having struggles with, getting clients and earning the money, that is a program in itself that doesn't serve you, right? Because there's something that's running in the background that's preventing you from earning the money that you want. So the key is to find your passion and follow that. And all that other stuff will work itself out, right? Or seeking ways to like reset it.
Yeah. And I think that's a fun topic. Like
Yeah.
How, like, what's my question? I guess, how do you figure out the things that need to be reset?
That's a good question. It's when you're not getting the results that you want. Okay. So, for example, here's what happened to me as a health and fitness coach. So, not in my fitness training business, as a health and fitness coach, because I was online, I had programs, I had video curriculum, I had a workbook, I had, all this stuff. Right. And I I had a hard time getting clients. And the reason being why I had a hard time getting clients was this feeling of not feeling good enough because I was made fun of and ostracized as a kid
Right.
in school. You don't think that makes a difference? But I tell you, it makes a difference. I didn't know it. I didn't know it. I just knew that I didn't feel good enough, but I didn't know why. It was because from grade 2 to grade 12, I was last picked in gym class every week for 10 years. Because I was the youngest, I wasn't the youngest, but I was the smallest, weakest kid in gym class. And when school teachers are picking, you're playing volleyball, like they're all team sports that you play in gym class. So they pick the two strongest players to pick their teams. Well, who are they going to pick? The next strongest players. And who else are they going to pick? The next strongest players. So who's left? Me, right? And so then you're standing there and it almost I didn't know this at the time, but I realize this now is like when you're standing there, you're the only person left. It's obvious to everyone that I'm not good at sports. So how else are you going to feel? Not good enough.
Yeah.
It's just how we interpret that situation for a lot of us, right? Whether it's something like that or something else. So that showed up in every aspect of my life when it came to relationships, when it came to school, when it came to earning money, and this showed up. And so then reset it comes along. I do all this resetting around that situation and some other situations in my life. And now I get on these calls and I'm closing at right now at 50%. And I'm not even selling. I don't need sales tools or sales technique. And that's the difference between resetting and not resetting.
And I can imagine with the results as well, there's people who've had such an amazing experience and impact from the work you do with them. And they're like, great, here's all these people that I will refer to you.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Because the kind of work that we do is a little bit, you learn, you can only understand it through experience because it's not like something that's familiar because, Marc has been teaching this method on his own for 16 years, right? So it's not a technique that's out there. It's something that's proprietary to him. So therefore, it's through experience that you see how resetting really makes a difference for you as a person and who you want to be and what is it you want to accomplish.
So you don't, just curious around advice and business and advertising and stuff like that, because you're so grounded in what you're offering, yes, there's referrals, but are there other ways that you're bringing business in? Because I get that you're on these calls. How do you get on those calls with potential clients?
Yeah, so a lot of networking events I go to. So the way the business works is it's kind of like a real estate agent and realtor and real estate agent relationships. So there's the corporate and then there's all us reset as specialists. So we work together and we work independently. So, we have, people hear about us through networking because the buzz is out there right now. And they can go at the corporate website and they can choose any of the 12 specialists to get in touch with or people that I've met and they might want to speak to me and do resets with me, or they might resonate with somebody else. It's all open, right? So there's no right or wrong. It's just people's preferences and what they choose. And we're just happy. All of us are just happy that they want to do a reset it and it doesn't matter who it's with. So there's no level of competition. There's none of that. We're just all very happy that we are here and grateful for this tool and for this program. And we're just trying to, impact as many people as we can.
I love that.
Yeah.
All right. And I guess last but not least, do you have a question for me?
I sure do, Megan. Now, might be a two-parted question. I'm not sure. Let's see what happens when
All
it
right.
comes out of my mouth. Now, you're going to be doing a reset shortly, and I want to know how you feel about it and what you're excited for.
Good question. I feel excited at the possible results. And as we all know, we all have things, especially as an entrepreneur and in the entrepreneur world, that we're working on. It's like there's always something in prioritizing, as you were saying, A versus B. Do I do A thing today? Do I work on the structure of my business or do I go out and try and get clients? Like all of those, there's always balancing and not confusion, but compromise. And I guess I'm excited for more clarity and the solidness and the knowing that this is what I'm doing. This is the right thing. It's the calmness and confidence that I'm excited and looking forward to having more of.
Awesome. And then so I think, so Megan here is going to be doing Reset It with me. And then we're going to be jumping on another podcast to talk about you and your experience on the Resetter. Am I right?
That is correct. You got it.
So to everybody that's listening out there, be sure to keep an eye out for part 2.
Yeah.
Right, Megan?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, there will be a part 2 and that's the fun. It's my business model as well as Support to Thrive. So it's like if I can support you and learn about what you're doing and support you in that and support myself, because this sounds like a really amazing, valuable tool that I can use, that people I work with can use. Like if it's impactful and amazing, let's spread it.
Yes. Right? Because it's just because you just feel so darn good.
Yep. That's it. Thriving. That's what I'm here for. Thriving. How can
Yeah.
we create more of that in the world?
Yes, I agree.
Okay. And there will be a part 2, but if someone's just listening to this now and they're like, great, I'm ready to go, how do they get a hold of you?
Yes. So they can find us at resetit.ca, and it's reset-it.ca.
Yeah.
And that's where you can find us.
All right. Amazing. Well, thank you very much, Amy.
Thank
And
you.
we will go from here. Stay tuned,
Yay.
everyone.
Thanks, Megan.
Thank you.